Several years ago, I had a job that required 10 and 12-inch copper circles. Once I'd cut the copper circles out, what I had left was these triangular corner pieces. As you can see, there were a lot of these. Now each of these pieces is probably only worth 2 or 3 cents at the scrap copper price. But if I can do something with the scrap copper, I can turn them into something that has value. Here are 4 separate pairs of earrings, using the same design but finishing them differently. You may not have this exact same shape, but you can cut some triangular pieces out of scrap that you already have. Setting the combination square at 1 1/2 inches, down from the peak, marking that, then using the 45 degrees on the combination square, scribing across there. Now cutting this out with a pair of sheet metal shears. Cutting with the sheet metal shears, the copper will curl on the right side. So here I've placed it between 2 blocks of wood so that I can straighten it or flatten it. Using a standard aerosol paint can, centering it on the base of the triangle, scribe in here so that I will have an arc. Using the aviation snips, and if you'll notice, I'm taking very small bites in cutting this arc. Using a center punch, I can drill the hole for the earring loops or hooks. Once I have this first one laid out and cut, then I can use that as a pattern. At this point, I have 8 earring blanks, and I want to file off these edges and also the corners, making sure that nothing is sharp. Or I can also use this tube sander on an air die grinder. And here I'm using the wire brush on the motor, kind of beveling off the edges, not the corners, just the edges. The next step is for annealing each of the earring blanks. Using this block of wood as a base, the ball peen hammer, the effect that I'll get here is what's called hammered copper or beaten copper or peen copper. Using this chisel, which is welded onto a handle, I can begin veining the copper blank. And I want these veins to radiate out from the hole that was drilled for the earring hooks. Now this copper has been annealed so it is soft, so these chisel marks will go right into the copper. And here you can get an idea of the effects. The veining on the left and the hammered copper on the right. Now here I've gone back to annealing because I want to form these copper blanks. So I'll anneal each one. And if you're not familiar with annealing, check the YouTube videos and you'll see the video I have on annealing copper. This is a piece of steel pipe, 1 3/4 inches in diameter. Since the copper blanks have been annealed, I can form them right around this piece of steel pipe. At this point, I have wire brushed the 8 copper blanks, and now I'll be attaching the hooks. Now this is a little difficult for me. It's a much smaller type of thing that I'm used to working with. I mentioned this to a friend who's been doing jewelry for 30 years, and she said that everybody has trouble with this. So maybe I'm not so much of a klutz as I thought I was. And incidentally, I found these hooks on Amazon. I got 100 hooks for $5. So it's certainly not expensive. Now 2 sets of the earrings I flamed colored. And if you're not familiar with flame coloring, check out the video I have on flame coloring. Here's a little box where I save patterns and also ideas for future jewelry, and especially in this case, earrings. Before attaching the earring hooks, I sprayed each of the copper blanks with Krylon Crystal Clear to prevent tarnishing. If you have copper scrap that you want to use, and as I say, to make something that has value, other than just scrapping the copper, leave some comments, because I've got a number of ideas that I can use for upcoming videos, earrings, as well as some other jewelry.